Listen.
So let me get this straight. You just pull some cards and make up whatever you want. Is that how this works?
So I had gotten a couple of recommendations for this new horror movie, even though it's like getting trash left and right from everyone who's seen it. But I decided to use my 4th AMC check-in for it. And then it came out like the next day. And look, I'll be honest, I didn't think it was the worst idea for a movie, since you do have that cliche of a group getting haunted when they touch something that they're not supposed to. But with it being based off their signs, it's like this battle of whether they're going to be predestined to be cursed or if they can make their own fate. It's like a 13 Ghosts mixed with Final Destination, but also nowhere near those. Like, personally, I would not recommend this movie in theaters, and honestly, I would barely recommend this one at home.
But what website is this?
I don't know, Grant. I just found it.
It is made by a duo who previously did a short film called Blink that's up on YouTube, but they also wrote and produced Moonfall. Here, Sony hired them to adapt this book called Horoscope that's about this serial killer who's slashing up people in school based on when they were born, and that sounded like a super sick idea. But then it turns out these two didn't even bother reading the book. Sony just kept the name for some of the marketing.
That's a milestone for me as an actor. I just want it to be in a Sony Pictures horror movie.
Funny enough, they did have an action script that ended up getting swallowed up by Expendables 4, or Expendfortable, which wasn't anything like what they had written, so I doubt that they've seen that one either, but the irony is pretty funny. This one does have that pattern, though, of them continuing to make scripts that are completely cursed. I wouldn't even say that this is the worst horror of the year, because there literally is one that actually knocked me out to the point that I had to imagine the ending for that one, but it's bad when the marketing pranks that they're doing to promote the movie are scarier than the movie.
You want to check this out?
Let me explain. So the movie starts with a group of friends out in the woods celebrating Elisa's birthday, as they play Most Likely. Well, my theater was most likely to leave because a group went to the bathroom and they never came back.
Drink.
The vibes end up being off because Haley and Grant over here broke up right before the trip, so now everyone's tripping. Even worse, they're down to the last beer. And then worse than that is that these kids are going into doors that literally say keep out.
Definitely spiders here.
Got it? And I should have kept that classified. They then walk around the basement from what looks like The Conjuring that has spooky items for like 20 spin-offs, but obviously the go-to ends up being the tarot cards.
It's pronounced tarot.
Oh, sorry, it was more like tarot bowl. Because Elisa's their astrology girl, she decides to do readings on all of them, even though the rule is to never use someone else's deck.
Best mistake.
Haley starts to read the group's tarot cards, and it's pretty much a recap of what's about to happen to all of them in the movie, except for Grant, who initially passes, just like she did on their relationship. And also Paxton, who skips to go to the bathroom just to crap himself when he gets spooked by creepy doors. Ain't no way he got scared by a copy of this movie.
We need to chill.
Nah, bruh, pass it to me. Eventually, they all get read like a book, including her ex, who straight up calls her out for how she laid it out.
I'm reading your horoscope. I'm not talking about us.
No, it sounds like you're talking about us.
Well, I'm not.
This month, you're gonna need to face your demons and make a sacrifice or risk losing someone important.
Imagine someone telling you can't leave them because it's written in the cards. Girl, shuffle that deck again.
I used the deck to read the stars.
17 minutes in, we get the title drop as they move to the next location. Paxton listens in to a more interesting podcast. Everyone goes back to their college dorm rooms, and Lucas makes back the budget of this movie with the scratch-off.
Your horoscope is showing me a change in your financial situation.
Guys, I won $700. What
the hell? The first girl to go is Elise because even though she saw the attic stairs fall once, she decides to climb them the second time that it happens, and then just like breathes in the candle scents like she's at Bath and Body Works, as if her tarot isn't right there.
You're climbing the ladder towards success, but
her card was a high priestess that calls out being investigative, and wouldn't you know it, curiosity killed a cat in the nastiest ladder smackdown. Again, I do think that the monster designs are decent at first because they got Trevor Henderson to do all of them, and he's the guy who did that creepy country road creature. They also got Dan Martin to do the effects, and he's killed it on Brandon Cronenberg's movies and last year's stop motion, which I would recommend. But here they have them doing the goofiest jump scares. Like, who is she yelling at? Elisa's dead. It's like they have them posing for senior pics after graduation, like Say Screech. Now, you'd think that the whole group would be completely shook, but really it's only Paige who's having nightmares, and she's the Virgo in the group. Meanwhile, this man's leaving his ex at the scene of a murder. Lucas is spitting game to Maddie at night, and Jacob's just ad-libbing the whole movie.
Guys, do I have a hard time listening to others?
Yes.
Next up is Lucas, who keeps on entering doorways that he shouldn't because, they told him.
You're a rule breaker.
He gets haunted by the hermit at the train station where he gets his horoscope personally delivered, but that becomes the breaking news when he doesn't watch where he's headed.
The hermit's light could lead you down the wrong track.
Down the wrong track. Okay.
Yeah, I got it.
Man, I hope he got to spend his $700. Before they can even send out the evites for Elise's funeral, they get called in for the murder of their other friend, and one of the directors actually cast themselves as the cop here. What's interesting is that the writers always do these little Easter eggs for their parents, with Marsh being one of their father's name, and he appears here as the writer in one of the articles. But for the other director, it was even more personal, because she combined Haley's backstory to be that of her losing her mom early in her life, and how that was the thing that turned her towards astrology. But no matter how many readings she would do, she couldn't stop death.
I don't believe in coincidence. I believe in fate.
Yeah, this man's looking like he should have left her in the prequel.
You know what? You dated someone who's into star signs and shit.
Haley starts to break down the script and how everything she read in the beginning of the movie is starting to come true for each and every one of them. So they turn to Google.com to look up tarot and realize that there was a wedding in the 50s where a series of unusual deaths occurred. And so they take another road trip to the middle of nowhere to find this author, since the last road trip they did turned out completely well.
I never saw that coming.
The lady they go meet somehow didn't see them coming through her cards or her DST security, but Haley gives her a big speech so that they can continue the movie. Alma then explains why she should have never let them in, because it turns out that this curse goes back for centuries. She talks about the incidents that happened in Mexico City, Woodstock, even London, where she survived herself because she skipped doing a reading. But then she takes us back to the Penny Dreadful times, where an astrologer warned the local king that his pregnant wife was going to die during childbirth. So when it came true, he accused her of the witchcraft he hired her for, and then hung her daughter to hurt the messenger. That's why she's created these cards in order to do some voodoo readings for her haters, killing them one by one, and even often herself, like we see a glimpse of during the title. So now she's bound her soul to the cards and is cursed to this movie.
We'll find a place to chill and wait this all out.
How do you wait out a curse, Paxton?
I don't know, it's my first time being cursed, so maybe get off my back about it?
Now they need to find the deck to destroy it and change their fates, but on the way over to the next scene, their car just turns off faster than a Tesla in the middle of a dark bridge. Madeline was the only one to record her reading, so she's now playing the video where Haley tells her not to run,
So just don't run away from your problem.
and then immediately starts to run.
Sorry, can you say that again?
Oh, funny. Don't panic. It'll soon be water under the bridge.
Now, when I first saw the scene, it did feel a little bit like Jurassic Park, and it turns out that that's actually what they based it on. So when you see the hangman walking around and acting like a T-Rex and, I don't know, not a hangman, it's because they were going for that and not something original. They said that they also asked the composer of Insidious to imitate the creepy Tiptoe song that was in that movie, that the police scene with Alma when they go to her door is from Back to the Future. And listen, I don't think homaging is bad, but I do gotta ask, what are you directing to then be homage?
Oh, shit! Oh, okay.
Meanwhile, Paxton leaves so that he can save the day later, but that's when he gets followed by the fool, who even decorated the community board with Tauruses.
Psoriasis?
And his clown self, even changing the buttons, leaving graffiti, and then attacks him in the elevator with the choppiest stop motion just to kill him. Or, as his podcast would say, nobody, I guess no crime?
I don't know. That's a stretch.
Honestly, I feel like I'm the fool for tuning in. The remaining three then go get the tarot cards from the mansion and follow the rule about burning them, but then the script says that it can't burn them because we need 20 more minutes for this to be a feature-length film. They then start rewatching the beginning of the movie on their phones before this lady finally decides to come in and help. And God bless her soul, because when you look through her IMDb, Hollywood's just been casting this lady to do the same bit in every recent horror movie.
We get it. Move on.
Alma arrives and tells them that the astrologer shapeshifts into the cards that they were dealt, meaning that we still have the magician, the devil, and death left. Alma then starts a ritual where the astrologer appears right behind them at the fireplace, and she decides to get in on the fun by doing her own reading on Alma, and then stabs her with 6 swords just like the card says. And look, just speaking for the ghost, if you've got the power to freeze people, then, I don't know why we didn't wrap this up before the title card dropped. Why are we running around?
I mean, that does kind of make sense.
Thank you.
In a really stupid way.
This girl then takes a page out of Lucas's book and decides to hide in the basement of this haunted house while being chased by a demon, but at least I'll give it that she had the most thematically coherent kill, I guess.
You may feel like you're being pulled in 2 directions.
Hers was the magician who tricks her onto his stage with some of the most, normal people in attendance, but then this girl hides in a box? And look, you don't need to have a master's in film to know what's gonna happen next. Yeah, she should have saw that coming. Meanwhile, these other two are Scooby-Dooing their way in and out of hallways, only to just take a break and chill like they've got daft knees, and then just talk about why they never shag.
I asked the stars if we should be together. The answer was no.
And maybe we were cursed from the start.
Haley decides that now she can change her fate and wants to stop the curse that they got from reading cards by reading cards, but to the astrologer, who, like, should have a no tag back clause on the deck. Death then appears dressed like Vecna, causing her to run away into this dead-end closet, meaning Death can just walk in. But luckily, her ex then grants her the chance to get away when he linebackers the literal Grim Reaper, leaving him to be dragged into hell while she plays some spiritual solitaire.
Death can mean the end of something, or the start of something new. But in your case, it just means death.
Why? I don't really get the rules here, but simply put, she hit La Muerte with a reverse Uno card. After convincing the astrologer that her daughter being murdered and her mom dying of an illness are pretty similar, they decide to both let go metaphorically as the cards finally burn around them physically.
Do you think anyone will believe us?
Guess we'll find out.
Right as they get out, a car randomly arrives, and for whatever reason, it's Paxton who somehow survived.
Guys, we did it. We changed fate.
Fuck fate.
Yeah, man, I should have read my horoscope. Thank y'all for checking out this video. I'm curious to know your thoughts. Predestination or free will? Let me know the answer to life down below in the comment section, as well as what you thought about this movie, I guess. I did read that they actually want to make sequels and kind of have it take place in different time periods, and I'm sure that they had Jacob survive, just like his podcast said that they would, so he can come back, because he's clearly the biggest one in the cast. They even had him doing the most press worldwide. But the timing on these jump scares, man, like, they got to work on that, because it's like Caribou on a beat. Damn near got the reaction happening before the violins come in.
All right, okay. That's enough.
That said, I am more interested to see other takes on this premise because I think it's a good idea. I know the Love Witch tackled some of these cards. Tanya, I think in The White Lotus, probably has the funniest scene dealing with Tarot Tarot. But someone told me that Yu-Gi-Oh cards, they're technically a version of this deck, which, look, I never saw myself as an astrology girly, but I'm someone who doesn't even mess with Ouija boards, but I do collect playing cards, and there is a sick version of an H.R. Geiger edition that's out there. I wouldn't buy them, but they do look pretty crazy. If you do like playing cards, though, I would recommend this upcoming movie called Lost in the Shuffle that not only breaks down the history of magic tricks, but the origin to the faces and a murder mystery that's never been solved.
I'm going to share with you a card trick that I created, and you'll be the first people to ever see it.
Other than that, let me know your thoughts on this movie or any other horror movies that you want to see an LME on. And until next time, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and they'll make a Loteria movie.
Bunch of best friends, roughing it in nature.
What are you talking about? We rented a literal mansion.
Damn, bro. Tom Holland really rubbed off on him.
That first film really does feel like an independent film.
It's a really good independent one, for sure.
Yeah, this is just like a really small thing, $20 million. I'm like, bro, your attachment to reality is crazy. This man is used to hundreds of millions of dollars movies.
Meanwhile. Yeah, but we're outside and mosquitoes are eating my ankles.